What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of the Primal podcast. Making this a running thing, staying consistent. If you guys are watching and following along, like and subscribe. Never thought I'd say that, but I'm sure it's useful to say, Because here's the thing too. Somebody actually said this because I watch a lot of YouTube. One of the people that I follow said, like and subscribe if you actually enjoy the content. It's good karma, and I was like, damn, you got me there. So yeah, like and subscribe if you thoroughly are enjoying it, if you truly are enjoying it rather. As I'm sure it is good karma if you ever decide to start your own YouTube channel or get going on social media, which I think everybody has the capacity to do. You'd probably want other people to do the same. So yeah. Anyways, this week I wanted to talk about nutrition a little bit more. So we were talking about that toward the end of last episode, and I freeball these, by the way. I think the first episode I had some points written down, but felt a little robotic. So now I just kind of go in with thoughts and ideas. So how did my journey of nutrition really start? So let's just start when my fitness journey started, which was senior year of high school. I'd say is when I really got into it. Really got into lifting weights properly and all that fun stuff. Um, so back then I was doing the normal, eat kind of every hour or two, like literally constantly eating so that I'm never kind of empty. Like my muscles, quote unquote, always had juice. So that was kind of the philosophy I followed. Eating pretty healthy, like home cooked meals that my mom would make, just, your normal meats and, healthy carbs and some vegetables and, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches here and there, protein shakes, all those types of things. Just a very normal, standard, healthy diet. Not too bad. I used to eat out a lot too. I remember I had a girlfriend back then, so when you have a girlfriend, you probably don't eat the best because you eat out a lot. But not always, of course. Everyone's different. But yeah, so I was kind of uneducated about it, but just kind of following the basic bodybuilding premise that you never can go hungry or you're going to be losing muscle. So that was literally like my thought, like my methodology. Never ever would I skip breakfast. Never, I mean, I would probably scoop down peanut butter like literally right before I went to bed just to ensure I wasn't hungry, and things like that. So that was kind of the school of thought that I came from. And I realized like, although I was able to build a lot of muscle, I was starting to lose definition in my abs and things like that, and it became really hard to maintain both. Uh, I found myself doing a lot of like cardio and just trying to exercise a lot to make up for like extra calories, and it was weird. It was like I'm trying to bulk, but at the same time I'm trying to cut, and I think that's what everybody secretly wants to do is they secretly want a lean, chiseled, like Spartan-like physique, where you have a good amount of muscle mass on you, and you don't have much fat on you either. So it's hard to get like one or the other. Like a lot of people either bulk or they cut. Typically they bulk and then cut. I think that's a totally stupid methodology. I think that your whole life journey should be to kind of slowly build lean muscle mass on your body. And at a certain point, you're not going to, build any more per se, but it's always going to get more functional, more dense, more usable. And that's the life journey. That's the life goal. So that's obviously how I switched my thinking. But going back, so I was in that school of thought, and then I hurt my shoulder lifting, and I wasn't able to like kind of be that bodybuilder per se anymore. And I wasn't really able to do much intense workouts at all. And then like fast forward a couple years from that, after I got really into like just more stationary bike and just super low impact like grandpa type workouts, I started to realize like my diet was not there's something off about it. So I forgot exactly what got me into this, but this was during the time where I think I went, no, I didn't go plant based by any means, but I would just kind of looking into that type of stuff, avoiding meat, you know, just trying to find the right diet for me. Like, I remember I had a lot of below. Sorry for jumping around, by the way. These like memories are hitting as I'm like talking out loud about them. But I remember, at this point in my life, it was actually a pretty low point. This is when I was partying and drinking and doing a lot of stupid stuff in college, but also, um, enduring this shoulder injury that kept me from being active and kept me from because I'm a very high energy person. So if I can't get it out working out, it's gonna manifest itself in negative ways. So yeah, I was kind of caught up in that lifestyle, and I remember getting really sick and like having to get my tonsils removed. I was on antibiotics for months, so I was like, ruining my gut microbiome, all that type of stuff. That's a whole nother topic, but so antibiotics, they literally kill all the bacteria in your body, and your gut is made up of beneficial bacteria that actually digest your food and absorb nutrients and things like that. So when you throw that all out of whack, you kind of hinder your nutrient absorption. You produce or you promote inflammation, promote indigestion, and all this type of stuff. So I was having a lot of weird digestive issues, and I wasn't able to like work out as intensely. So here's that point that I was at. So feeling kind of like almost like skinny fat, unable to get that like metabolic rate high with like workouts, and then not really knowing what to do diet wise. And at the time studying neuroscience in college, so I'm not that neuroscience is like really like about nutrition or anything like that, but you really start to understand chemistry, biology, biochemistry, and kind of what logically makes sense, right? Like based on the kind of biochemistry that I was learning in school, things could logically make sense or not, right? And the reason I say that is because I discovered fasting. Discovered fasting, as if that's like a thing to discover. Obviously we all fast every night when we go to bed, but obviously more prolonged fasting, controlled fasting, fasting regimens, and the benefits to those and the studies behind them and things like that. So I remember discovering fasting when I was literally taking biochemistry in college. And this isn't actually when I discovered it. I actually discovered it in high school when I was going to Europe. I didn't want to experience jet lag, and I was doing research on how to avoid jet lag. And I read something on fasting, and if you fast for at least 16 hours, you can avoid jet lag and yada yada. So, long story short, I tried fasting for 24 hours, and it worked. I didn't get any jet lag whatsoever. So that was kind of my first experiment with fasting. But remember, I had that school of thought that like breakfast is king, can never go without food, yada yada. And then as I'm like learning biochemistry, learning the philosophy behind fasting and why it's good for fat loss and even muscle retention and boosting HGH, boosting testosterone, promoting autophagy, promoting longevity, making your skin look better, all that type of stuff, really healing your gut microbiome, healing your immune system, rejuvenating it. All these like potent benefits, literally like everything that you can learn about benefit wise of fasting, you would think like this is it. This is like the fountain of youth type of fix, and it supposedly is. So I started, digging into that, doing more research, and I remember even going up to my biochemistry professor and asking him, or actually, sorry, this was my cancer cell biology teacher. I went up to him and asked him why, what's the whole deal with fasting? Why don't more people fast? It seems to be preventative or even a good treatment for cancer. And he looks up at me and he says, well, I only eat one meal a day. And this guy was very like, he looked really good for his age. He was a older professor, but he had a lot of energy. The guy like just bouncing around constantly, had really like shiny skin. And he was just a really healthy, vibrant dude. And he's just telling me like, yeah, the research is, it's undoubtable. It's really good for you. It cleans out everything. And, it's basically the, antithesis to cancer. You're letting your body kind of eat the bad cells and do rid of all the garbage so that nothing can really build up, So this philosophy is intermittent fasting, going through periods of fasting and then through periods of eating. It was starting to make a lot of sense. So I started to put it into practice. This is toward the end of my college career, probably like the second to last year that I was in college. And I was doing a lot of labs at that point. So I had this one lab over the summer that was like 4.5 to 5 hours long. I'll never forget this. And that's when I started fasting. And so the lab was literally in the middle of the day, like from 1 to 4, 1 to 5, something like that. So I would just push my fast all the way out past the end of the lab. So I'd fast through the lab, and I just remember I would be struggling. Like I'd be so like hungry and like kind of moody and lightheaded. I could feel my breath stink. Like all these little like kind of side effects of fasting. And looking back, like I didn't need to put myself through that. Like there's other ways of doing it. You don't need to time it that way and be crazy and jump into it that quickly. But I am kind of glad I did it because I really got to experience a lot of like the just the pains that come with fasting, and that was like eye-opening. Just when you do fast for the first time, it's not comfortable. You feel like shit, your head hurts and all that stuff, but you also realize like these are the toxins being released from my body. I'm not used to this, and my body, my blood, like everything's coming out basically. And that's really what's happening. So, you drink water and all that type of stuff. But over time, you adapt, and that's what I did. So I got really into fasting, and I remember that's when I started really getting shredded, and like people started noticing and asking me what I'm doing. And, I was walking around with a lot more confidence because I could take my shirt off whenever, and I just was kind of, 24/7 lean. And also enjoying food, like not really being picky about food, not like thinking about calories or macros or anything like that. Just thoroughly enjoying food, trying to start to prioritize protein and things like that. But that didn't. I wasn't even aware of that quite yet. So we'll get into that. So I was, I got into intermittent fasting, and that really changed my life. That's what I started putting into practice for probably the next 2 to 3 years. So then after I graduated college, started working, and I'm pretty fit, looking good at this point. People at work would ask me for advice and what I do, and I told a lot of people about fasting. Some people got into it, and they saw great results, and I would give a lot of people advice on this because I'd been experimenting with it and having really good success. Um, but I started to feel like even though I was fasting, I was still experiencing some of the negative things like bloating and indigestion and just some little, maybe just personal things to me that I hadn't quite dealt with, and I felt, although I'm fasting and I'm giving myself that break, I don't know if I'm eating the perfectly right food when I do eat. And, you could fast all you want, but if you're still constantly refeeding with junk or not the best food for you or, things like that, um, you're doing a lot of harm. So I felt that. I felt like there was something missing. And I had heard Dr. Sean Baker come on Joe Rogan's podcast and talk about the carnivore diet when I was in college, getting into all the fasting and all that. And it made a lot of sense to me. Again, logic, common sense, with coupled with what I was learning in school, chemistry, biochemistry, it made sense. It made sense why going on a carnivore diet or an all meat diet would theoretically help you to burn all fat, excess fat, and also reduce any kind of inflammation in the body. And like, rid yourself of kind of things that might be irritating you in your diet. It always made sense to me, but I never really got to try it because I was, to be honest, mentally weak. I was never even really that big of a meat eater, so I couldn't imagine like all of my calories coming from meat. So I kind of wussied out. I always wanted to do it, and I was always an advocate for it, and was always interested in it, because I'm all about experimenting with the body. And again, all the stuff that I was hearing benefit wise, all the testimonials, all the stories, everything that I was hearing about the carnivore diet, it really hit me. It struck a nerve inside of me, and it spoke to me, and it stuck with me. So when I started having these thoughts, during my kind of career, working a 9 to 5 job, your health's starting to catch up with you. I started doing jujitsu and noticing like, when I'm doing jujitsu, I'm feeling like I'm getting kind of gassed out, like tired too quickly, and feeling like I almost get nauseous when I am too explosive, like kind of like that sprinting up a hill feeling, like, when you want to throw up type of feeling. Like I felt like I was feeling that too often. So I knew that I had to change something. So I thought, what, this carnivore diet's literally been in the back of my mind for like 2 years, and I haven't had the guts to try it. I'm gonna try it. I have an intuitive feeling, an instinctual feeling that this is going to work. This is going to help me. And sure enough, I jumped on the carnivore diet for 60 days. 60 days without any carbohydrates whatsoever, just meat, fish, eggs, and cheese. And the benefits were phenomenal. At first, the first couple weeks, I'm not going to lie, the first 14 days were not easy psychologically mostly. Not being able to socialize as much, not being able to, have a drink with my friends or, eat fruit or like anything like pleasurable. Like, and keep in mind, for me, meat was not, I was never like, ooh, a steak type of guy. Like I was always, ooh, pasta or pizza or carbs or sugar. Huge carb guy, huge sugar guy. Not that I was ever like fat or anything, but that was just what I was into. I just did not like the taste of meat by itself. If I did have like a steak or something like that, it would definitely have like some mashed potatoes or something else, right? So it was a hard adjustment for me. I lost a lot of like weight in the first 14 days and just didn't feel like I had a lot of energy. And then, sure enough, everything clicked, and my body kind of adapted, and my inflammation all over my body, things that I didn't even know were there, kind of went away, like just little aches and pains and ways that I felt that I'd just gotten used to over years of living and eating bullshit. So there's only a few minutes left here, so I'm not going to go all the way into it. I'm going to pick this up next week and dive into all the benefits that I felt on a carnivore diet, why I got off of it, why I don't think it's sustainable, but why I do think it is the truth, and it is the way to kind of reset your gut microbiome, replenish, your health and immunity, and just do a whole lot of crazy stuff. And this is all just my thoughts, my story, my experience. I'm not trying to claim that you should do this or anything like that, but it helped me significantly. And I'll go into it more next week. Only got 2 minutes here, so I don't want to like start like a good thought and then have to just cut it off. So thank you again for watching. I hope some of this stuff is helping, or at least a little entertaining for you guys, and sheds a little bit more light into the world of nutrition and health, and how to apply it to fitness. But if I leave you with anything today, I'll leave you with this. Intermittent fasting is, it's actually the truth. It's the one truth, the one nutritional truth that nobody can deny. Fasting works. Fasting is good. Just make sure that when you do fast, you know what you're doing. Maybe hire a coach like me. I'm there for you to coach you through and get you adapted. But also just make sure that the foods that you are eating are healthy. They're good foods. They're not fast foods. And if you need some guidance on that too, let me know. Leave some comments below, some questions, anything like that, and I'll try to get them answered and make a video, make more of this discussion around that. So thanks again for watching. If you made it till the end, you're a real one. Peace out.